Hi, welcome to another Unitrends training session. This training session is for the install onboarding. Our next section is the basics of backups. In this section, we're going to take a look at creating and managing your backup jobs. The following tasks are good to know prior to your scheduled installation date. In the basics of backups, we're going to take a look first at organizing your assets by category. We're going to review the cattle, pets, and people learning lesson from our System Administrator training program. We're going to look at creating and editing backup jobs. We're going to show you how to view backup job details. And we're also going to take a look back at the Protection Summary Report. When we start looking at organizing your assets by category first, now that we've added all of our assets to our appliance, we know what we want to protect. Right? We can see our physical servers, we've added agents, we've tied to VMware and Hyper-V. Through the agents, we can also see those applications. When you start to break down your assets, you really think about two different categories. You basically break them down into recovery point objective and recovery time objective. The RPO drives how often you schedule your backup jobs, how many recovery points every hour, every 2 hours, 4, 12, that's recovery point objective. Now, the recovery time objective, that helps you determine what type of backup or backup copy job to run for each asset, because the different types of jobs take different times to recover, different processes to recover. Virtual Snapshot brings back the entire machine. With Application Aware, the database could be up and running consistent within one recovery pass. While physical servers running that same instance of SQL, you'd have to recover the bare metal to bring the operating system back, make sure SQL's running, then you would restore the SQL databases back through the application backups. A lot longer to recover that server for that recovery time objective in that second recovery process. Now, how you determine what backup jobs to run to meet your recovery needs, there's different approaches for different types of assets. Some asset types are pretty straightforward, like NAS and physical servers. You've got an agent, you can only use an agent. Now, you've got different options within the agents. Now, while other assets present different choices depending on your host implementation and the recovery needs. In virtual environments, you may use virtual snapshots and the agents or combinations of those. Same thing with applications running on virtual machines. You could use host snapshotting with Application Aware or a combination of host snapshotting with an agent-based application backup. A lot of different combinations in there. Now, once again, make sure you check the compatibility matrix for more information on our supported versions and see the backup modules for each asset type in our other learning courses in the LMS. They give different approaches based on those asset needs. Now, we're going to talk really quickly about sorting your servers and applications and data into these asset groups. Now, most people know them as Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3. That'd be the people, the pets, and the cattle, right? Cattle is Tier 3, pets would be Tier 2, and the people would be Tier 1. Now, we break these down because it helps us associate the recovery point objective. While cattle servers are not very important, you expect loss to be kind of a hassle, but they're easy to replace. That gives a low recovery point objective. You don't have to back them up as often. But now you got pets. They're a little bit more important. Loss is more painful, and they're harder to replace that service or function, whatever that pet is doing, whatever that server is doing. Right? They have a more aggressive recovery point objective schedule than a cattle type of server or Tier 3 server. Now, your people, your Tier 1, your critical core, they're very important. Loss is extremely painful, and they're irreplaceable. That gives them a higher recovery point objective. You want to back them up more frequently. So for each of your asset types you want to protect, you're going to figure out which group it falls into based on your recovery point objective, and once again, that recovery time objective based on the job type, the backup types you're going to run. One of the things we teach in the other learning courses in our training sessions is how to create an inventory sheet of all of your assets, both physical and virtual, by client name. Then you're going to go through each of those clients and you're going to figure out the applications that are running and pull out the database names. Right? Very easy to start getting that list ready. The more organized you are before your installation, the better your installation is going to go. You're going to organize those into cattle, pets, and people, Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, critical, core, dependent, whatever you want to use for your association in there. Right? This helps us see kind of the groups that we need and where we can schedule in groups together. We're also going to look at other variables to determine staggering of the backup schedules, like sizes of the servers and these applications as well. But by scheduling all of these in groups, it really helps you manage the different backup schedules that you have to create and the different times and the staggering that you have to try to figure out on some of these machines. All right, so I'm going to try to give you a real quick 5-minute overview on managing your backup jobs. Now, once again, here in our dashboard, just as a review, we've got 0 protected assets in our protection summary because right now all of our assets are marked false for the 40 we do have listed in here. And you can also see down at the bottom section that we haven't scheduled or ran any backups because this section is blank as well. Now, you can also see some summary here in the Protect tab. Once again, these are all of our assets that we've registered. You can see once again that we still have not ran any backups against these machines. There are a couple of different ways to start backup jobs. Okay, one of the quickest ways to do it based on an asset is to locate it under the Protect tab. So maybe you want to schedule a couple of VMware assets in here at the same time. You can highlight those assets in your UI, and then you can click the Backup tab at the top, and that brings up our Create a Backup Job wizard with those assets marked, ready for you to set the job inventory settings. Okay, you can go in here and say that on this virtual machine, maybe I want to exclude that VMDK. Okay, now you can go to Next over here, and you can start to name this job. So you want to try to be unique when you create these backup schedules. So maybe you want to call this one VMware and Incremental Forever every 12 hours, weekday. And I don't have to have the backup job at the end of that. I can take that off as well. Right here, I want to create a schedule, or do I want to run it now? I can go ahead and leave it on Incremental Forever for the scheduling of the backup mode. I want this to go ahead and start tonight. It is a weekday schedule based on the name up here and my RPOs and when I want to run that. I want this job to run every night at maybe 1 o'clock. And I'm going to set my recurrence at 12 hours. Remember, this is a 12-hour incremental forever. So every 12 hours at 1 o'clock in the AM and 1 o'clock in the PM, it's going to keep running every 12 hours. All right, now the other way to create jobs is to actually go to the Jobs tab. And from inside of here, you can see your job manager at the top. And this is the job we just created. I can view the job details. I can see the assets that are in that job schedule. Now I can also create new jobs from here. You'll notice it brings up that same Create a Backup Job wizard, but here I have to know what type of backup job I want to create. Maybe I have some more VMware assets that I want to create in another schedule. I can go through this list, grab the additional servers that I want to schedule, and I can create backup schedules around those servers. All right, very easy to set these jobs up. Once again, you're going to name them based on the job type. So this is a VMware snapshot. In this case, we might run a 24-hour incremental forever daily. We'll say 3 a.m., and we'll just go ahead and set this schedule. Now, just like that, under my dashboard, if I go back and I run this protection summary, now under the backup section, I can see the virtual machines that I've created backup schedules for. I can even use the advanced view over here, bring out the next backup job order, and I can see the schedules that they belong to right there. All right, so once again, real quickly, over to Jobs, Create a Job, Backup Job. Maybe this time I want to go ahead and schedule my assets. I can go ahead and set up my file level jobs. Maybe on my Hyper-V server, I know I don't want to back up certain directories or volumes. I can come in here and say, you know what, I don't want to grab the N or the V drive, and I can save those exclusions. Now those are set inside of that machine. Maybe inside of my workstation here, maybe I want to do an inclusion in this case, and maybe I only want to grab the users directory. Maybe it's a workstation. In this case, I would go to the advanced options and say, hey, I don't want the system state in this case either. I'll go ahead and hit save there. Right, you can do that all the way down this list. Maybe once again, just to show you one more, maybe on SharePoint, no, I don't want the S drive. But now also maybe on this machine, I also want to exclude some wildcards. Maybe I don't want AVIs or any MP3s. Now that's also a good list to put on the workstation. So you can also do that over here. You can say, maybe I want to do an inclusion of users only, but yet I want to exclude AVIs, MP3s, those different type of iTunes type of extensions. We're going to go to the next screen over here. Now up here at the top, once again, this is an agent-based file level schedule that's going to run incremental forever, and it's going to run every 24 hours, weekday, right? So maybe instead of 3 o'clock in the morning, maybe I run this one at 5 o'clock in the morning. And it's only weekdays, so I take off the weekends, and I can now create this schedule. I've just now scheduled all my assets all at once across the physical assets by agents. I've got those assets protected as well too, all now in a group. Now the only difference is if I need different recovery points based on the assets category, cattle, pets, and people, I may need to break those out into different groups. But you can see that I'm also staggering these backup schedules so not everything's running at once. And once again, over in the dashboard, it runs the protection summary. Now, none of these jobs have started, so none of these filtered to true yet. We'll show you some of that in the ongoing administration. But once again, down here now, I can see the assets that are scheduled. Last schedule I'm going to throw together for you is under jobs. I'm going to show you application schedule really quickly. We're going to go to SQL. We'll go to our SQL instance. Here's our SQL server. Here's all of our databases. I can go through here, mark the databases that I know I want to back up. There's my 4 production databases. Now there's also an auto include down at the bottom. So if someone creates a brand new database on me and they don't tell me, it's going to automatically get picked up into this job schedule. All right, so now we can go over to the schedule details here. And this is an agent-based SQL job that I'm going to run a weekly full and I'm going to run daily differentials against it. So I'm going to come down here to my schedule details and I'm going to say fulls with differentials. I want my fulls to run every Friday at 10 p.m. and I want my differentials to run Monday through Thursday at 10 p.m. All right, we're going to go ahead and create that schedule as well too. Again, here's the SQL schedule. You can see the databases that are included, which are the assets that might be on that cattle, pets, and people list of assets. And I think that's a pretty good overview of the basics of backups.